everybody, so I just wanted to hop on here and introduce myself. My name is Amanda, and my family and I moved on to a 17-acre farm right at 3 years ago, and the farm has over 400 pecan trees that are all sick. None of them are producing pecans, so we have not figured out exactly what's wrong. I think we're getting closer to a solution, but hopefully over the next year or two we can get all of them healthy and producing, because that would be phenomenal for us. We moved over 2 hours from all of our family, and we now have cows, pigs, chickens, 1 goat, 1 goose, some ducks, quail, rabbits, lots of things. Our goal here is to create a lifestyle where we are self-sustainable, or at least really close to being self-sustainable when it comes to our food and our animals' food. And in order for that to happen, we have to have a big garden. So this year will be my 2nd year growing a garden here. Welcome to our garden. This is going to be our first garden tour of 2023. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you are not new here, then welcome back. Now let's get started on checking out this garden. Alright, so here we have all of my potatoes. I have done my potatoes in laundry baskets just to make it a little easier to dump them out. I also had potatoes in here. I got an okay harvest, probably about 5 to 10 pounds of potatoes out of here, which I kind of feel like I should have gotten more, but our soil is clay, so this is only about 8 inches deep of like actual good soil. But these are all potatoes. This is something I have to dump out. It has drainage holes, but there's an issue, so I have to completely empty that out. But there's potatoes there. This is all potatoes. More potatoes. And I'm actually going to be popping another round of potatoes in this week as well. This is Keto. She would like to be introduced. What are you doing? Okay, I don't know how well this is going to go because Keto has decided she wants to be the star of the show. These are all of my stackable planters. All of these are the Dollar Tree stackable planters, the largest size that they make. And I'm really experimenting to see what all I can grow in these. So we have all different types of bush beans. We actually have carrots all on this top one, and they're doing really good. These, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have at least 6 that are not planted at all. These are completely planted except for the bottom. I added that one on later to make them all 4 high. So I'm going to add some more beans to that to give myself another round of beans. We are just starting to get little flowers on our beans. More carrots. We have some nasturtiums in here. So these are really all just going to be beans, carrots, and nasturtiums. Now these carrots I need to thin out. I've thinned out the older ones, but you can see we ended up with some really thick areas. So I will be thinning those out soon. Carrots. Now we also, over in these, I planted these a while ago. So we have mullein down here. See, this is, I have to look at the tags because I always forget. I think it's basil. Blue spice basil. Another little plant that was just in with some plants I bought. We have a little bit of dill in here. I need to plant more in another spot. More dill. And then these are all zinnias. This one is going to be really pretty. We're fixing to start getting lots of flowers. Marigolds. And some other little herbs here and there throughout. This one was all different types of greens, mustards, kale, things like that. As you can see, the bugs have just gone crazy on there, so those are all about to get pulled out. This is a celosia. Isn't she beautiful? They're doing really great in these. And then more nasturtiums. Lots of beans. Now in these, I kind of did something a little different. So in the bottom 2 tiers, I did beans. In this one, I did micro dwarf tomatoes. I'm gonna see how they go. So So I did that in all of these, and I'm actually going to direct sow all these back here with the same things. Some of them, these are leeks, so I don't know how well they're gonna do, but I'm really trying to experiment and push the limits on these little planters so that people with very limited space can see what you can actually grow in these. And it also helps because it's a sort of raised bed. Our soil is really horrible. I put this fabric down everywhere, as you can see, because the weeds completely overtook me last year. Like, it was so hard for me to keep the weeds down. This is a weeping willow tree. It needs to be cut back because all of that is dead. But the bottom is alive. So I'm going to cut that down, keep it in a container for a little bit. We have sunflowers I stuck in there. These are dahlias. More dahlias. This is a hibiscus. We have Aunt Molly's ground cherries. You guys, the amount of Aunt Molly's ground cherries that actually germinated for me this year are insane. We have tons and tons of them. So they are everywhere. Over here we have a container of weeds. This all needs to get pulled out, and I will probably plant some flowers in there. My greenhouse is a disaster, but here's my greenhouse. And then we have some flowers. These are all flowers, so they'll attract the pollinators. Some weeds I need to pull. In here we have German chamomile at the top, and then I've been adding some strawberries, some basil, just some different things thrown in there. More leeks. I have a big mix-up of different things. So here's some different things in these tiered planters. We have more strawberries. This is actually celery. I don't know how well it's gonna do. So far, it's looking really good. It's the pink celery. So even if it doesn't get as big as it normally would, I'm okay with that, because how cool is that for somebody who doesn't have a lot of space, that you can grow celery in these? More strawberries and flowers. I have a couple of hanging planters I need to do. I need to hang. They actually go on this thing. Excuse the mess back here. This is our pig pen. So this is all flowers. And here we have tomatoes. These are not tomatoes I started from seed. These are actually store-bought. A friend of mine works at a local nursery, and she called me to let me know they were needing to get rid of these tomatoes because they were getting too big, and gave me a really good deal on them. And since a lot of my tomatoes died this year, I snatched them up. This is probably going to be a watermelon, and I'm probably going to do watermelon in these as well, possibly in that, or I might just do lots of strawberries in that one. I haven't decided. And then we have all of our tires back here. I really want to paint these one day, but this year my goal was to get them set up and filled, and we are almost to that point. This is a moon and star watermelon. I've had a really bad germination rate with these. I planted them in a few other places, but that is the only one that's came up. Unless that's one right there. I planted some in here. No, these are Blacktail Mountain watermelons. So I put a few of them in here, and it looks like they're coming up. This is a volunteer tomato. My chickens were free range last year, and they planted tomatoes everywhere. So this is a volunteer tomato I found and dug up. I also planted more of the moon and star watermelons in this tire, but as you can see, nothing has germinated. So I'm probably going to replant that. In here we have a squash. I'm not sure what kind it is. This squash was just growing in something that was labeled tomato. So I'm thinking somehow something got mixed up. The kids also dropped some of my starts once or twice, so it could be from that. These are more ground cherries, More of Aunt Molly's ground cherries. They're getting eaten to death, but we actually are starting to get some flowers. This will focus, and some ground cherries on these. I cannot wait to try these. If you guys have tried the Aunt Molly's ground cherries, please comment below and let me know how you like them, because I have not tried them yet. I'm not a fan of tomatoes, but I love pineapple. So if they taste like pineapple, I am going to be so happy. These are garden huckleberries. This is our first year growing these as well. They have gone crazy, you guys. These are just 3 of the plants. And then I also have carrots thrown in here and some pink yarrow. So we have some things underneath there. This is marshmallow, and it looks like we have something chowing down on our marshmallow. I'm gonna have to come out here searching for worms and bugs again, because the worms are insane. More German chamomile. This one is all hollyhocks, and then I have zinnias in all of my hanging baskets. So just a mix of all different types of zinnias. Down here we have another volunteer tomato and some nasturtiums. I have not planted anything in here or finished filling these 2 because ants have completely taken over this area, and if I walk right here too much, the ants just go crazy and attack me. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to kill the ants, because the kids really like playing on these, and it's no fun to get attacked by the amount of ants that we have. If you see that right there, that is actually part of their ant hill. And like I said, they're horrible out here. So we're gonna go through that area pretty quickly. This is a new bed. We have these poor tomatoes. These were volunteer tomatoes that I have moved twice because they were not happy where I put them. So they might die. But if they die, oh well, they were volunteers. So I'm not going to be super sad about that. They actually had tomatoes on them, but they're not looking too great. This bed, I have all these sitting here. These are all amaranths, like starts. And I want to put those all in here in the back, and then do more tomatoes up here at the front if I can. Tomatoes or peppers, something like that. This is the first volunteer tomato that I moved. You guys, this thing is massive. And I personally only grew a couple of tomatoes last year, and the chickens ate them. So I don't know if this is a tomato that a variety we grew, or it came from like kitchen scraps. I guess we will find out what kind it is once it starts making babies, but it is going crazy. This is a teeny tiny tomato behind it that I grew from seeds, and then these are all peppers. These peppers are doing really good. We're getting flowers on them. We're also getting lots of bugs on these, so I'm having to come out here regularly and like catch and kill the worms. More pink yarrow, more peppers, and then I have nasturtiums down here at the end. These are all of my peas. It is getting really hot here, so we may get a handful or so of peas, but we're not gonna get a lot. You can see there's a pea there and one back there. There's a purple pea right there. So we might get a few. I've already eaten a few, but it's not enough to really do anything with. Kiddo, get out of the bed. Get out. Get out. I keep wondering why my plants are broken. Get out. And that's why. We have another pea right here. A little baby pea coming up. These are so good. So next year, I really want to start my peas earlier. Obviously, I did not plant them soon enough this year. They are delicious. We're not growing enough for them to really make it in the house. I just come out here when I'm working and eat a few peas, and they're so good. But next year I want to have more. Okay, so this is what this looks like. So this is all things that I have repurposed, and that's my pea trellis. Once the peas die out, I'm going to plant a runner bean of some type or more cucumbers on here. All the peas, I'm going to have to pick all these peas once I'm done recording this video. I'm seeing more and more as I'm showing you guys everything. Now, this bed here is my pallet bed. I made it last year. It's leaning. It's not doing super great, but we're still standing. I'm going to have to look up and put what type of herb this is up here somewhere because I don't remember. So I will type that out and have it shown on the screen here so you guys can see what that is. I really thought this thing had died out last year. I mean, it literally only got like a few inches tall and did nothing. We never got any flowers or anything. And then over the winter, it was completely gone. It has came back this year absolutely gorgeous. Like, look how huge this is, and it's covered in flowers. These are all sunflowers I planted along the front because I have some tomatillos. That's a tomatillo. We have tomatillos all the way along the back, and a few let's see, what all do I have in here? I think it might just be tomatillos and then some basil, but I wanted something to kind of give them shade. Our sun is way too hot here for anything to be happy. It scorches everything. So these sunflowers will hopefully grow up and give the tomatillos enough shade that they can stay producing for longer. I have basil, nasturtiums all in here. And then down here at the end, we have some peppers, more nasturtiums. I'm sorry, these are tomatoes. These are peppers. So, peppers, nasturtiums, tomatoes, all the things. And that's that bed. All of this stuff has been built with repurposed material or things that were going to get thrown away or recycled material. Literally everything in the garden except for the weed cloth and these containers. Like, I bought those and I bought the weed cloth. Everything else has been repurposed. A lot of it, or I bought it at the Dollar Tree. So like this piping, a lot of it we dug up out of the ground. It used to be a part of our irrigation system and it doesn't work. So I've been pulling pipe out of the ground, and this is what I'm making my trellises out of. I had a phone call come in and I honestly forgot where I was. So I'm going to come back over here to the raised beds and start there, and then we'll go to the rest of the garden. So, bed right here. This is almost all lemon balm. Last year I started from seed and it was very, very small last year, but it has gone crazy. I have taken a bunch of cuttings off of this and it's going crazy. Down here I do have some spearmint, but it's getting taken over by the lemon balm, so I really need to cut the lemon balm back again. And then on this side of the bed, I have asparagus. Now, I'm not really sure if you're supposed to plant asparagus with your mints, but I needed to put it in the ground, and I did not have another raised bed for it, so I went ahead and put it here. I would like to build another raised bed to move this asparagus to. I just haven't figured out where I want to put the asparagus permanently, so this is where it's going for right now. It'll probably get moved though. And this water trough has holes in the bottom. We bought it at the auction. It already had holes in the bottom. Tried to fix it and it just kept like leaking, so we ended up using that out here in the garden, which has worked out really, really well. I love it. I wish I had like 10 more of those. In this bed, I don't think I went over this bed. So we have a pepper here and here, 2 tomatoes, which I need to put a tomato cage on so that they will get off the ground. I have some borage here, some more marigolds, and then the rest of this is going to be eggplants. So I just have eggplants all throughout this garden. To be honest, I don't even know if we like eggplants, but I really wanted to grow some myself and try to like them. So that's why those are in here. you have a really good recipe for eggplant, please leave it in the comments below, because I would really like to try some good recipes, some tried and true recipes, especially for people who don't like the texture of like cooked squash and cooked, I think I've had eggplant cooked one time before and it was like slimy from what I remember, or mushy, and that's what I did not like about it. So if you have a recipe where it's not slimy or mushy, please let me know. This trellis is from last year. This is old fencing. So we've been slowly replacing all of our fencing. It used to have this field fencing. There are holes in the field fencing, but I refused to let my husband throw it away. I told him I would do something with it, and here we are. This is one trellis. That trellis down there is the same thing. And then this metal here, somebody gave us, you know the metal carports that you have like a plastic type of cover thing that goes over them? I don't know what they're called, but somebody gave us one of those. It didn't have the cover anymore, and they were like, you can just buy a new cover. We didn't buy a new cover. Instead, I'm using them in the garden, and they're working out really, really well. Like, I'll show you some of the places I've used them. While I'm getting to it, there's tomato. We have some different sunflowers planted here in front of it. That's an onion my daughter planted, and we're just letting it go to seed. She wants to collect the seeds, so we're not really going to get an onion from that, but it's her experiment, and I'm going to let her do her thing. This tomato was a volunteer tomato. This tomato was a volunteer tomato. I just moved them here, and we already have tomatoes on these volunteers. Like, I'm not sure what type of tomatoes they're going to be, but we're already getting tomatoes on them, which is pretty exciting. I do have a tomato here, the, let's see, Green Doctor tomato. I planted this from seed, started in seed like 3 or 4 months ago. Same with this one. This is not the right tag. Let's see. Oh, this is the Great White tomato. We'll see. And then I have basil in here. I have some nasturtiums. This is a sunflower that somebody destroyed, probably one of my dogs or chickens. They really like hanging out here. Now, this area of the garden is really mushy, so I'm not going to walk all in here. My plan was to have peppers all over here. This is going to have trellising vines coming up over it, and the base of this is actually those same poles from that carport. All of these were given to us. Somebody had used them to make like Christmas light hangers, then they didn't want them, so they gave them to us. I took all the Christmas lights off, and I'm using them for this. So I just have them stuck in the poles. I'm going to have to add a lot of soil to this area this winter in order to plant in here, because as you can see, everything that was planted like up to that point has died or did not come up. These were all seeds. They didn't pop up. Everything I even planted here is not doing good, and it's because, let me see if I can get, it's just like mushy and slippery and gross. So I amended this soil some, but I didn't build it up enough. So I'm gonna have to probably build this up a lot before I can ever use that. So I think what I'm gonna do here is figure out some more container planters, whether I just take more like totes. We have a lot of totes that don't have lids, so I think I might take those totes, drill holes in the bottom, and place them in here really nicely in rows, and then maybe put some tiles down or something to be able to actually walk through here, or some bricks, because it's really hard to walk through there with it getting so mushy, and actually be able to use the space. I really want the shaded area for some tomatoes and some peppers, because the heat of the summer, it's really hard for the tomatoes and peppers to keep growing. So that's kind of what I was wanting that for. We're just gonna have to reevaluate and change up our plans just a little bit. I don't have anything planted here or here. I don't remember if I had any plans for that, but I will. If nothing else, I'll just do cucumbers there. This is more marshmallow. I have 3 plants here, and then I planted some squash here. This was a row last year of compost. That's like some good soil. None of the seeds came up, and honestly I think my chickens might have eaten them, so I'm gonna have to reseed those. Right here we have birdhouse gourds. I did plant some in the ground. As you can see, the ones I planted in the ground did not pop up, so I'm glad I put the ones in the container. I have more of that old fencing that will cover this, so the birdhouse gourds will just grow up over that and then ideally hang down through the trellis. Here we have loofah, and I'm gonna have to thin that out because literally every single one of my seeds popped up. Like, all of them came up. I was expecting maybe half, but these are seeds that we actually saved from last year. So we grew these loofahs, kept the loofahs, and kept the seeds last year, which is pretty exciting. So this will be another shaded area, or at least slightly, from the plants. And then in here we have some different squash. These are all different types of squash that are going to be on the ground. I don't know what I'm doing with these yet. If you have any ideas, let me know. They're from a pool, an old swimming pool. These are the garden huckleberry, and we're getting flowers on these already. My dogs broke these off way down here at the base. See, you can see this broken point, and they came back just from the roots being in there. Very hardy plant. I highly suggest growing these just because, I mean, they were broken off the ground and they came back. That's phenomenal for me. Let's see, what else do we have? These are, if you can read that, I don't know how to say that, but it's a type of squash. I can't pronounce a lot of these. And then we have more garden huckleberries all the way down this back. And look at the flowers we're getting. I am so excited to harvest these. You guys have no idea. I want to have a lot of jellies and jams put up, and I've heard these make amazing jelly. So I'm really excited for those. I don't have anything planted in either of these. I think these are melons. So this is the lemon drop watermelon. This is the, let's see, what is this? I'm not really sure how to say this. Something Kodima watermelon, and the Regal golden watermelon. So while watermelons will not automatically trellis, we are going to tie them to the trellis and weave them through the trellis to get them to go up over this trellis, because I have chickens, and although I have them cooped right now, we have some that are getting out, and I really want to make sure we get some of the watermelons. So the trellis will give us the best advantage of making sure we actually get to eat those melons and the animals don't get them. Basil. That is one of the tomatoes I started from seed. It's not as mushy on this end, so I don't know if you can see it on video, but it kind of goes down and dips down in that middle, so all the water gets caught right there. I had a tomato there and there. They both died. This one was a volunteer that I moved over here. Like, it's still hanging on, but it doesn't look very healthy. These are all ground cherries. Just a whole row of ground cherries. Like I said, they're everywhere out here in the garden. I had way more seeds germinate than I thought. This is going to be our okra. I initially did okra all the way down the back of the garden because we had planned on eventually fencing the garden and having it stop at this point. But then I wanted to grow more food, so we expanded, and I guess my okra is just going to be next to the corn. And then we have these 3 rows. I just did this row today. This little bitty hill, and then a lot more soil. I could easily do another 3 to 5 rows just like this. But I have some stuff back here we have to get out with the tractor before I can cover that, and I need more cardboard. So why am I using the cardboard, you might ask? Well, again, with the weeds. Our weeds are so bad that I mean, they just take over what seems like overnight. If we have a couple of rainy days, they completely, you'll come out and there'll be just weeds everywhere. And so instead of spending all of my time pulling weeds, I decided to put the cardboard down and lay my rows on top of it, because the cardboard will break down and compost, and it's good for the soil. Also, worms really like the cardboard. Anywhere else in the garden I've had cardboard, when we pull up the cardboard, the worms are like crazy underneath there. They really love that cardboard. Also, issue with the cardboard is the roots of the plants being able to get past it. So what I'll do is everywhere that I'm going to plant something, I will dig all the way down where I'm going to put that seed and poke a little hole in the cardboard, just enough that the roots, that taproot, can get through the cardboard. And then I'll just plant, build the dirt back up, plant my seed, and my seed roots will have some place where they can get through the cardboard and down to the clay that's underneath. It's literally straight clay underneath, so there's not a whole lot for them to find going through that. But I want the option to be there for those roots to get through. So that's what I'm going to do. You guys helped me while I planted all my flower seeds here. I can't wait to see this just full of beautiful cut flowers. I'm so excited for that. And then I may have to take out a couple of these branches because they're kind of hanging over. They might be too much shade for the flowers, but that's okay. I can just cut those down. Here's all of our extra soil, and I still have probably 1 or 2 more tractor bucket loads of soil over in the driveway I have to move. These are peas. These are all going to be cow peas or field peas of some type, like black-eyed peas, things like that, all down here. So hopefully these will all grow up onto this trellis early. So they're growing slow, but now that we're getting some warmer weather, they're really starting to take off. I have never grown those before either. So that's pretty much everything out here in the garden. I really appreciate you guys coming and taking the time to hang out with me. If you have any questions, please drop them below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!